America's Card Room is the largest U.S.-facing poker site. For the latest deposit bonus, click the link in the description. And to watch poker live and grow your game, check out twitch.tv/PokerPastor and subscribe to this channel. It is a really bad habit, and we do need to get out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a surprising thing that I didn't expect to happen.
All right.
I limp. I don't limp much at all. BG says that at lower stakes, 30% is enough to get a lot of folds.
Yeah, it certainly can be, especially on certain flop textures.
Yeah. Anyway, so I limped here. I don't limp much. So I don't know what I'm doing here.
Okay.
So gut shot, basically not even a gut shot. I need 2 cards here. So this is almost certainly a fold.
2 cards, but you've got a lot of backdoor equity here, right?
Yeah, I have backdoor. That's true. I have backdoor.
6, 7,
backdoor.
6, 7, 8, 9, Jack, Queen are all
Yeah.
good. All good cards for you in theory. But we brick.
Well, now at this point, this is the kind of flop, or this is the kind of card that checked 2 twice. I feel like I can put a bet out here and take it down.
Sexy. Do we?
And I didn't. No, we didn't.
Yeah, clicking up a couple times while sell is a good way to do it. Yeah, and I mean, either's fine, but I like that your instinct went to betting that turn. I mean, really, the only guy that could potentially have a king is the small blind, right? Like the big blind's never going to have a king there, and even the small blind it'd be a really weird play.
Well, but this is the big blind. This is not not a blind.
I'm looking at it wrong.
This is under the gun limp.
So is there a dead blind?
No, the blind folded. The small blind folded pre. Here's a button. Here's a small blind. Here's a big blind.
Okay, I see what's going. Yeah. Okay. Right, but yeah, first to act is the only one that could potentially have a king there, and it would be really weird for them to pot control that.
Yeah. That's going to be a fold. Thank you. Every so often, I'm like, that's going to be a fold, and then I don't do exactly what I said should have been done.
It happens. Hindsight's always 20/20, man.
Ace Queen. So how many? Like we've played 37 hands in this tournament, and we've had 9s, kings, Ace Queen, 7s, 6s.
Life is good.
Life is good.
But like we said,
I've been through hands, like 60 hands in a row where I saw nothing close to that.
You got to run good to win tournaments. That's all there is to it.
That's true. Zazie in chat says, so what we doing? What we are doing is we are doing a hand history review. I am on the phone with PokerPastor, and I am also in his stream. So if you go to his stream, you'll see him. If you want to see my ugly face, you can stay right where you are.
Oh, no. You can see his ugly face on my stream, too. I've got both. So
this is true. That's true. I'm just saying, like, if you want to limit the ugly, stay here.
He's referring to the Packers shirt.
Wow. No, I was referring to you. I was referring to the other streamer.
Fair. I won't argue with you. I'm going on 4 hours of sleep, so no worries there. So I'm really curious to see what you do here, Geek. I have a guess of what you're gonna do, but I'm really curious to see.
So I'm probably gonna 3-bet this guy. Versus this under the gun open min raise. I'm probably going to... Oh, I just called.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to do.
So here, like I can see the logic in my head that says you need to 3-bet fold to get information about how strong this min raise is, right? Or you can just call, right? That's what's going in through my head is stuff like that. Because this guy, I've only got 11 hands on him. So I've seen him play 1 hand before.
Right.
Now, why did you say you think that's exactly what I would do?
Because like you tend to try and keep yourself out of uncomfortable big pot situations. And so being 50 big blinds deep against a stack that has you covered. What?
That selfie check says move streams to limit the ugly.
Nice. Nice.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. Like against a stack that's got you covered here, like I feel like you're gonna flat here a wide percentage of the time, to kind of like limit the damage and like give yourself like good information on the flop. And I don't hate it. Like you're on the button. We haven't seen the small blind, get out of line at all, right? So we have no reason to believe that the small blind's gonna induce light. If the other reason I love this is because if the big blind shoves. Look at that. We got the host from Drew for 3 viewers. Thank you, my man. Auto heist hype. Like if the big blind shoves, now you get the 3-bet for free, right?
Yeah.
You get the added information without it costing you anything. And in worst case, the big blind calls. You've got the best position here. So like flatting from here and flatting from the cutoff or the hijack are very, very different, right?
Yeah, because there's so many more hands behind.
Right. So I like this. I mean, you can 3-bet here. I don't think 3-betting's awful. But I really like this. I think it disguises your hand a little bit. Like, you give a chance to get the free 3-bet. I'm good with it. All right.
Interesting. He bets pot. So what is he? So he could have 6 here. He's got such an incentive to call. He could have anything here. Right. His preflop call is going to be really, really wide.
Right.
So what does Paloha do? He 3-bets or he re-raises. It's post flop. It's not a 3-bet anymore. I think I'm just getting away from this.
All right. So before you go on, what are you doing if Paloha folds?
I'm probably calling.
Okay. Well, now.
No, wait a minute. Would I rip?
I mean, it's effectively the same thing, right? You're not going to call and then fold, are you?
No, I'm not.
And I don't think he's going to fold.
So, like, I've got backdoor wheel draw. I've got backdoor nut flush draw, and overs, right? So
you don't have a backdoor wheel draw because the board would be the straight.
Oh, that's true. But in this situation, I'm folding.
Right.
Yeah.
Crushed. So I would say if you think the big blind is a thinking player, then I think it can be more of a call because the thinking player knows that they've got range advantage there and they can rep that board and they're willing to do it with a really wide part of their range. I think against a fishy or weak player, I think it's got to be a fold because that is going to smack a bigger part of their range. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but the problem is like a fishy or weak player is a fishy or weak player going to look at the pot odds of this situation and say, okay, I'm getting, 2, 4, 5, 6 to 1 to call.
I don't know that they're going to do the math of it, but they're going to be like, oh, look at all those chips in the pot. I only have to pay 800. You know what I mean? Like they might not mathematically do it. They might not do it for mathematical reasons. They just see a lot of chips in the pot and know like, oh, here's a chance to triple up or whatever.
So Zazie wants to know why we didn't make a move pre on the button. And the reason I think is because this is really early. I've seen this guy. I know nothing about him. And he's raising under the gun. So my instinct is I'm just nervous versus his opening range here. Ace Queen is often dominated versus an under the gun opening range. So, well, dominate is the wrong word, but often behind versus an under the gun opening range. So an under the gun opening range is going to be opening a lot of pairs, opening king queen. They're opening king queen. I open king queen. So yeah, I mean, there's a good argument to be made to 3-bet this with this strong of a holding. I
think the more position you go over, like I think from the cutoff, this is more of a 3-bet. The hijack, it's more of a 3-bet. I think it's literally on the button. I think you can do some of both. So I like it.
So let's see what he had 8s. Okie dokie. I predict a fold, and I did.
Yeah.
So
Suited, I like a raise there with 8-9-7 suited. Offsuit, I think yeah, fold for sure. Go ahead.
yeah, I just folded there versus this guy's limp. Although we now have seen a hand that he's willing to limp, and that like he's willing to limp Jack 7 suited under the gun. So
Yeah, but
we
that's
know a
one of
little
those
bit more
spots.
about him.
That's one of those spots, right? Like if you try to exploit him, you make yourself more exploitable, right? Like you're
True.
with ace suit, it's
True.
putting you in a bad spot. So that's a good fold.
But my only point is like I would open this from hijack if he didn't limp
Right.
every time, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like if we know his range is pretty weak, I should be opening here.
Yeah, but like the it's the dynamics there too. Like you could open min raise there, right? And then still fold to some stacks. Like once you ISO this guy, like you're snap calling the big blind. It's close with the button. Like it's kind of creating that awkward stack size again for you where like now you kind of have to call off a chunk of hands that maybe normally you wouldn't if you were opening because there's so much more in the pot.
I got to write some notes down before I forget these things.
Yeah, sure.
Notes.
So BG, while he's writing notes, why do you think it's pretty weak to min raise under the gun, and why would you go bigger? And are you going bigger with 100% of your range? I scared BG off. He must have gone to your stream.
I am prettier. Okay, so we did fold the ace deuce there.
All right.
Queen 5, I'm gonna fold. Ace. Oh, I'm probably not playing these.
This is a fold for me.
Yeah.
Again, unless the table's just like super tight, but it hasn't seemed to be so far. So.
Okay, king queen in the button.
Ooh.
45% limp over 21 hands. I imagine myself. I'm pushing this up. Let's see. What is limp fold is 100%. Limp fold is 50%. I just checked. Ooh, bingo.
Fishing Lake says, this is great. Thanks for doing this. Awesome. We're glad you're enjoying this. We like doing this too. Bowling Guru says, I like to send a strong signal in my hand, so I like to raise bigger because I'm going to be out of position versus any caller. That's fine.
And I do that too. So I tend to make let me say what I want to do versus what I actually do. Those are not necessarily the same thing, but the plan is always to make the raise bigger from early position and like charge calls versus my early position opens.
Right. I think the one thing we have to factor in too, though, is like your range naturally looks stronger from those positions, so there's more incentive to fold already just because you're under the gun. I think that gets undercredited a little bit, and I think that's why some, especially in the mid stakes, like people are more apt to raise smaller from early position and bigger as they go down, is because their range naturally has some strength attached to it. I like the limp here, or just the complete, because like to see, like if you're gonna squeeze there, like if I'm squeezing there, I'm going to like, what are the blinds there? 450, 900. I'm going to like 5,400 there. I'm going really, really, really big. I mean, I don't know what you're sizing if you squeeze there, but like, I'm like almost going exploitative, like 7, 8, 9x.
Yeah, so like I would like if I'm squeezing here because I'm out of the position versus basically both of these guys, what I want to do is charge them for playing with me, having to play with me out of position, right? I want to make them pay more to be able to play in position, right? So if I was going to be raising here, I could see a 5x or a 6x seems a little ambitious. 6x to me feels a little bit like, yeah, I'm squeezing, right?
Well, it does feel like you're squeezing, but at the same time, like, are we okay just taking the pot down here, right? Like, I don't mind. Like, if we think we're never, like, running into a trap here, then I don't mind just taking it down right here. And king queen plays well post flop, so if they're crazy enough to call and build a really big pot, like we still look really, really strong. You know, so we're gonna win on most flops anyway. And so it helps neutralize some of the out of position eligibility. And I just
somebody
feel like
asked me to take
what?
Take the opacity off of my stats, so I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, BG positional range is way less important in the under $10 for sure. So like I just feel like we're gonna take, like, especially against a 45% limper, like we're just gonna take this down, and this is like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 big blinds right here. So like this is a nice pot. Like I don't mind just taking this down right here and calling it a day, versus trying to outplay them post flop. So I go exploitatively big here, but I like the limp because it doesn't cost you anything. Again, it disguises the strength of your hand. And you can, in theory, like check 100% of your hands here and still get information from the other players. So it keeps it really, really cheap. So what do you do here? You check? All right.
So my plan is to check raise. My plan is to check raise, right? So what I'm anticipating is a flush draw is going to raise. Probably 6-5. If they have a 6 or a 5, they might raise. A weak king will raise. I don't think there's any ace king. I think I really have the nut king here. I'm skeptical that anyone would limp ace king, right? So it feels to me like I've got the strongest hand here, and they're going to be and people who tend to limp, who have a 50% and 45% limp range, they want to see a flop. And if they're betting, they've got some equity in it. So I want to get more chips in the pot. So my plan here is if I see a bet, I'm going to check raise. Okay. And so to do that, I need to check to set that up.
Are you check raise bluffing here at all?
I would say it's probably player dependent.
Okay.
Like, so if I look at this guy and see he doesn't have a probe stat, or if I see that they've got a high C-bet, then yeah. Zossie, that's like the third time that Zossie has said, shove!
So, like, this is something I'm just now working on and incorporating into my game. But, like, so this guy bets here, right? Like, let's pretend you had ace-queen here without the ace of spades. Like, or even, like, queen-jack I think would even be better. I love a check raise here with queen-jack.
Yeah.
Because we block a lot. We block a lot of those king queen, king jack type hands, right?
Yep.
And I think if we don't have spades, it's even better because then it's more likely that they have those flush combos that would fold to a check raise.
Can check raise flop when we block a lot of combos that are strong. Okay.
Now, there's two different check raises here, right? Like, Bowling Guru is bringing up one type of check raise where you could do a flush draw, right? That's one check raise. And then there's the other check raise, which is we actually want to check raise the flush draws that are out there. So, both are effective, but they're going to be two very different sizings, if that makes sense. Because one has no equity and the other has a lot of equity, right?
Yep. So the problem is, like, the problem with check raising a flush draw in this particular size is that you have got to put in a ton of chips to make them not have a good equity to call, right? So let's say this guy did a half pot bet. So half pot would have been like 1935, right? So essentially there's 3 bets in the blind already, right? So in order for me to take away his equity, where he's got like 33% equity, so I have to go like 9x in order to make it not profitable.
Right.
Like greater than 9x. So that means like 10. So, 10 parts, because there's 3 parts in there already. So I'd have to go, I'd have to go 10x his raise, which becomes just an absurd number to get to. If I think he's got a flush draw. Otherwise, I'm giving him the right odds to call.
Yeah, I think you'd almost have to do it with a hand like ace of spades, queen rag, right? Like, where you've got the ace blocker, you've got the over, like an ace here with a in a. So here's the flip, like it's a half and half thing here, like. An ace to check raise with here is really important because like if you do run into a king, you still got that over. You get those 3 outs, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
equity there. But the odds that somebody has ace king are like nil here, so it doesn't really block as much as the lower holdings. But like yeah, it's definitely something to think about because like you don't want to only be check raising your strong hands here, or you're hardly ever gonna get called. And I feel like you're check raising with the intention of getting chips. Like you're check raising to, I mean, yes, you want to protect your equity, but you're wanting to get people in here, right? Like you're check raising with the intention of building a really big pot.
Yeah. Well, no, my intention, yeah, that's right. I'm trying to get people to come along here because I think I'm very much ahead of whatever your bet size is here. Whatever you put in here, I'm very much ahead of it. So this little blocker bet, this little 900 is probably I'll fold to anything, right? But I can still see myself check raising.
Okay.
Oh, I just called. So I think I'm still at the same situation here. I want to give him the opportunity to keep betting into me.
Okay.
And so now he finally bets bigger. This is probably where I check raise and then he folds. Yep. We called. And of course. Of course.
So this is where you have to, so right here at this moment, don't go anywhere further. So here's where you have to, this is where you have to stop, take a deep breath and say how many aces are in his range here.
Not a lot. There are not a lot of aces in his range. Now there are some because people who are doing this will limp ace 4, ace 8, that kind of stuff, right? They'll limp weak aces, right? So
They'll limp weak aces, but how many weak aces are flatting are going to flat your check raise?
Well, if they have ace 5, ace 6, right?
Would you flat a check raise there with ace 5 or ace 6?
No, I would not. But I also would not limp 45% of my first 21 hands, right?
Well, sure. But like I think like I guess what I'm asking is, do you think the average player is going to, like, for me, like I look at this and I say the only ace 6 or ace 4 I see in the range has to be ace 4 of spades or ace 6 of spades. Because remember, they're leading, right? So they limp the first flop with their ace 6. You call. They bet bigger on the turn with their ace 6, and you raise them, right? You check raise them. Like, do they ever feel like they're ahead there? Like they've got to have.
Sure. I didn't bet the king, right?
Right, but your check raise looks really, really strong, right? Like 7-8 just got there. To a fish, to a guy who has 45% limp stats. But he doesn't know he has 45% limp stats, right? Like all he knows is like he just bet 2 streets into you and then you raised him. Like I feel like that looks really, really strong. So like I don't think he's gonna feel good there with a dry ace 6 and certainly not with a dry ace 4.
Yeah, that's true.
So like I feel like the only combinations of aces that he's gonna wake up with here are the suited aces. Yeah. So you can literally cut that down to like 8 combos, right?
Well, but actually that's right. It's the spaded aces and the diamond aces, right? So
yeah. So but what diamond aces are, like, none of the diamond aces are gonna lead that flop except for like ace 5, maybe ace 7 of diamonds. Right, like something that had like backdoor equity and backdoor open-ended. So we'll be generous and give him like 2 more combos, right? So we're talking like 10 combos, right? 10 combos of aces at this point.
Right.
So now how many other combos can you come up with that would be in this range?
I don't understand the question. How many other combos could I come up that would be in which range?
How many other combinations of hands could he check or bet call your check raise with?
Kings, a lot of kings.
Right, and all those kings we beat, right? So,
Yep.
So like, let's see.
I mean, he could have King X of
combos,
diamonds, right?
8 combos of King Jack, 8 combos of King 10, 8 combos of King 9. So that's 32 right there, right? Just of the kings. How many flush draws can he have that don't have an ace in it?
I'm trying to do the math in my head here. So 113 times like a ton. There's a lot.
Right. So what we're getting to really quickly here is we've got maybe 10 combos of aces, and you could probably easily come up with 100 to 135 combos of hands that aren't an ace here, right?
Right.
So he has an ace here like less. Let's just say he has an ace here 5% of the time.
Okay? Right.
So and the reason I bring this up is like now we're at a spot where like, yeah, you're right, BG 8. Yeah. So 8 of each of those. So now we're in a spot where like he has an ace here a very small percentage of the time. So we still feel we're good here a massive part of the time. And the instinct is, oh crap, that's an ace, I got to shut down. And so that's why you've got to kind of like run through those combos, and it takes a little bit of practice to do it, but like run through those combos and go, you know what, like this is a very, very small part of his range. Now knowing that it's a small part of his range, what part of his range do we want to attack here? If we think he's ahead here, we're ahead here a vast majority of the time, and if we think a vast majority of his hands here are flush draws and air, how much do we have to bet to get value with a king or to get him a fold if he's got air? Like,
right.
Like we don't have to bet very much here. So like we can actually lead here for like 2,500. Yeah, 2,500, 5K, right? Like, because really at this point, like we know he's folding all his air. So like we want to try and get a 6 to call us. We want to try and get maybe a 5 to call us if he had a hand like 5-7 of diamonds, or like, you know, some like, you know, combo draw. Like those are the hands we're looking to target here. And you're going to have to bet really, really thin to get those to call with 2 overs. So I love a lead here for like 3 to 4K. If you get ripped, you know, because the guy has like 7-8 or like 6-4, or he did have one of those combos of 10s, you could still get away from it. But it allows you to get value from those hands that miss. But this is kind of like, this is where like, and I was doing none of this in December. So like, I'm saying all these things like, oh yeah, like I've been doing this all the time now. Like this is the same spot where like 3 weeks ago, I'm like, oh, stinking ace, of course it comes. And I'm just checking down. But like, I really like putting out a small lead here, trying to get value from those 6s and 5s that are out there. It also works as a great blocker bet. And if he really is ahead, then he's going to let you know.
Right. So let's see what we do.
Yeah.
I check. He checks. And I win. We don't know what he had.
And we don't get to see what he had. It drives us nuts, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I lost value. I think that you're right. I lost value because I didn't count up the combinations of aces that he has relative to his range.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good hand. I'm gonna tag that. Whoops. I'm gonna tag that one.
That'd be a good one for the fishbowl.
Yeah. The fishbowl, for people who are wondering, is the study group that PokerPastor and I and a few other people that we know are in, that we participate in, including Count Joe.
Count Joe money.
Fold 6-7 from button. That's pretty standard. This is going to be a fold. I can't imagine a situation I'm raising that.
Right.
This is going to be a fold.
I'm so impressed that you haven't like accidentally clicked the all the way to the end button. Every time I review my hands, I do it like 3 times, and I'm like so mad every time I do it because I don't remember where I left off. Right? Like.
Yeah.
Oh,
so like, tilting. Is there any? Wait, they don't have these things numbered.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to open here, and we're going to raise no matter what happens. Whoa! What the world?
You were focused on another table. Well, you timed out because you were focused on another table.
That must have been that. Maybe we came back from break and I timed out or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
I'm sure you raised that if you're paying attention. I'm sure it was something like that.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
But he had aces, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Right. I just got. I just avoided the cooler.
He
That's what kept
3.6x.
me in. That's what I kept me into the into 10th position. That's how I got to 10th position.
BG says you're a nit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more like a distracted knit.
By the way,
Right.
I have to ask while you're going through these hands, do you own any stock of the Packers? They're the only publicly traded team in the NFL.
I do own stock in the Packers.
Nice. So are you going to be selling it soon then?
No, I cannot sell it.
You
Part
can't
of the
sell
thing.
it?
Part of the thing about owning stock in the Packers is it's not. I can't sell it. The best I can do is pass it on to my heirs, but it is not for resale.
So it's never worth anything.
It's basically a mark of your loyalty or stupidity, depending on which perspective you are, to the team. Because they are the only team in the league that can raise money from their fans through this mechanism. And
Gotcha.
what the Packers did with it is they modified their stadium.
Ah.
Yeah. So
That trick only works a couple times.
yeah, King 5. Well, no, it's worked many times. There are people who are like, dang it, I missed out on the last stock sale. I'm not kidding.
They just keep selling it, huh?
Yeah. Okay, here
when
we
the ICO comes out, we'll
the ICO.
yeah.
Okay, 13 big blind shove under the gun.
People are yelling at you and rooting for the Bears in my chat, so you know how it is.
Well, you know what? It takes all types. It takes all types. I mean, you are from Illinois, so I presume you have a certain sort of like Illinois fandom that shows up in your stream. So it's not. I don't hate Bears fans.
Loyalty.
I think their team is terrible.
I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you picked up on this yesterday, Geek, but Fish and Lake actually grew up in the town I live in right now.
Oh, really?
And it's only
I
a town
did not know that.
It's only a town of 5,000. So like, what are the odds, right?
Here's the thing. He got out.
Yeah,
right?
Dude, it's on the list. It's on the to-do list, fam. Trust me.
That's a
I gotta just look outside at the 6 inches of snow and the 30-mile-an-hour blowing winds in the cornfields to go. Yeah. The clock's ticking.
Yeah.
So what do you do here? What do you think you do here?
I think I probably fold. However, two things. First, I clicked ahead accidentally and saw that I did fold. I clicked ahead because I thought I was going to call, right? I thought I was going to be involved with a call here. But I think that what probably in real life would have happened is I would have looked at that I don't have any hands on this guy and I can't prove he's opening. I don't have any information that sort of proves that he's opening under the gun with 13 big blinds weaker than king queen, so it's a default fold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's right. I'm probably folding here just because I don't want to. I'm not flatting, and I don't want to jam into this massive 50 big blind stack on our left. I mean, it's more than 50, but 50 big blind effective stack on our left.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Like, I think if the big blind has like 10 big blinds here, I'm probably shoving over the top. I mean, there is a thing here where players will be more inclined to shove under the gun with short stacks because they don't want the blinds to come through again. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, this is going to take my stack below 10K, so I need to shove here." Not with any two, but like they'll shove a wider range from under the gun because they don't want to lose that stack equity.
Right. They're afraid of the blind showing up the next hand. They're going to give up a blind.
So I don't necessarily give them super credit under the gun here, but I don't want to shove into a 129 big blind stack.
Right. So yeah, and I guess my sort of default is like if I'm going to assume that a player is playing, suboptimally, unless I can prove. That they're basically, I'm going to assume that they're a fish until I can prove otherwise. And in this particular case, a 13 big blind shove under the gun, I think I'm beat an awful lot of the time. I mean, the best case scenario is he's shoving jacks, tens, but he's also shoving every ace, right? So I just think that this is a fold.
Yeah, BG says it's a minus 0.6 EV against a 13 big blind shove. Assuming they're shoving with a correct range. But yeah, I think it's a fold. I don't know. I have to see if the big blind was really short. I'd have to think about it. Like it's right on that cusp. Like now, under the gun +1 does this with a small big blind. I'm snap folding. But I just give like these specific stacks under the gun.
Wait a minute. Under the gun +1 does this with a small big blind.
Right. Or small big blind. The big blind has a small stack. Big blind has a small stack.
So I don't understand. So like we'll put David John Edge over here and he does this.
Yeah.
And this guy's got a 10 big blind stack. Where David John Edge is determines whether or not you're shoving here. If he had a 10 big blind stack in this spot, you're going to shove king queen. No, but if you move him here, now you're going to fold king queen?
Right. So like because of what I talked about. Like I would 13 big blinds or less, okay? From under the gun, especially against fishier players, I dilute their under the gun range. Because the blinds are just about to come through. Under the gun +1, not the case. Like if under the gun folds and under the gun +1 shoves here, it's a fold every day for me. But like
because he's got what you're saying is he's got room to wait one more hand before he's forced to do this. Therefore, this is strong. Right. This is a lot stronger. +1 is a lot stronger.
+1 is a lot stronger. Correct.
Okay. I don't. Interestingly enough,
this is small stakes.
I don't play that way.
No, and that's fine. And this is only something I would do at like 11s and under. I would never do that at a $33 tournament because I don't think that logic's going to apply very often with those players. But like I have seen, like, you'd be surprised. I mean, pay attention. You'll see this happen sometimes, and the guy will turn up like Jack-6 suited because he's just like he doesn't want to blind off, and he wants to get that that extra double. So that's where I just kind of like I feel like. And again, small stakes, and you certainly don't have to, but I feel like I've found people definitely opening wider there because of the fear of the blinds coming through. And the smaller the stack, the worse it gets, right? Like 10 big blinds, like they're even more likely to jam here. 8 big blinds are even more likely because the amount of stack they're going to lose in the next 2 hands has a worse and worse effect.
Right.
But yeah.
But I did fold.
Oh, I love the fold. I love the fold with these dynamics. Yeah, absolutely.
Not gonna play this.
Right.
Not gonna play that either, especially in that situation. I don't even need. Yeah, that's not gonna be played. Ooh. Now I think I should open here. I should.
Yep.
I think I should open. I have a feeling I won't.
So let me ask you this: do you think this is an open from under the gun?
I know it isn't for me, but whether it should be or not, I don't know. My default is to not play this hand. I need to improve my how I play suited connectors because there's so much equity in them. That's something that I really need to get better at. With 51 big blind stack, I could see opening it under the gun. With like a 15 big blind stack, I'm snap folding.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right on both those front. Like 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited. If you want to open up looser on the table, like even 8-7 suited, you could even really probably go down as far as 7-6 suited. And like 10-9 suited is actually a call. It's a call from a 3-bet from the small blind or big blind. If your 50 big blind's effective, so if you were to raise under the gun here with the 10-9 suited, and PLO was to 3-bet you, like you could call. Yeah, Preston's rage is like infinite. but yeah, I think it's an open under the gun too. So like definitely an open here. And as far as like playing it post flop, how good you see you did open it.
Who knew?
Like the key here is
I'm just so not comfortable playing suited connectors yet, and so it's one of those things that I'm introducing into my game that I'm trying to get more comfortable playing. But yeah, I mean, because there's a ton of flops that come with suited connectors that really just I completely whiff, and and I'm just in such a bad spot. Like, so if the flop comes Jack 10 deuce, like, oh God, this is just such a tough hand to play, you know? Or flop comes ace queen 8. I'm like, I just hate them. I hate them. So I'm trying to introduce plain suited connectors into my game, because there are also a ton of flops that come that I love, right? And so,
well, see, I think the key. So what I do, let's go ahead and see what happens here on the flop. But like what I do is,
I just took it down.
Oh, okay. So like what I look at, like, so let's just say that flop, like you said, ace queen 8, right? Like I'm looking at backdoor equity with suited connectors all the time. So ace queen 8 hits. Let's say it's ace queen 8 with 1 heart, right? That doesn't feel like a good flop. But here's the thing, like first of all, we can c-bet and rep the ace, right? That's step 1. And then like, okay, so now we've c-bet. Let's think about how many turn cards are good for us. Any heart is good, right? Any heart is good for us. A jack gives us a straight. A 7 or a 6 gives us a double gutty, right? So that right there is what? 3, 6, 9, 16. And then like a 10 and a 9 also, a 10 or a 9 also gives us additional equity because we can hit trips or 2 pair. So like there's like what, 21 cards?
Right. So I don't know if my stream can see it, but here's you guys can't see it here. I'm trying to adjust it so
good.
You can see it on
good.
screen.
Yeah.
So like this is Flopzilla, and so I put in 10-9 of hearts in my range, and then I put in a loose call range from the blinds, right? And these are Ed Miller's ranges here. So in this particular case, my equity is 42% versus 57% for the range's equity before the flop. Now, so we put in ace. What did we say? We said ace, queen, 8, 1 heart.
Yeah, but make it diamonds. So I can make a rainbow.
Okay. Okay, so now my equity has gone from 31 to 68%. So my equity's gone a little bit down, but I still have a fairly decent amount of equity here, right?
But this is where this is failing you, because that not a lot of your opponent's equity is going to be realized here, right? So like all the ways we can win this hand, like we bet the flop, we can win it right there. They don't have an ace in their hand, they shut down.
Right.
They float with the ace, and the turn comes, and we hit the nuts. We hit a jack. We can win the hand that way. We hit a really strong draw, and we bet turn, and we hit our draw on the river. We can win the hand that way. We hit any one of our double barrel cards that gives us some more additional outs, and we pick up additional equity, and we bet, and we get fold equity on the turn, right? So there's like a lot of different ways that we can win that hand, progressing through the hand. And the whole time, like, our hand's really fairly disguised. Like an ace queen 8 rainbow flop is considered a dry flop.
Hold on a minute. So let's ace queen 8 rainbow. So let's say he's going to call with a set, 2 pair, top pair. He might call with pocket pair below top pair. Middle pair, let's say no.
You don't think he's going to call with a hand like you don't think most opponents will float with like king queen here one hand?
Maybe let's put middle pair in there, right? Weak pair, probably not. No made hand, definitely not calling. Gut shot, open-ended straight draw plus player, gut shot plus player. Now, if we filter out the hands he's calling with, our equity goes down to 20%.
But that's assuming that they're calling every street. Because here's the thing, right? Like, we definitely and some of it. Thanks, man. Have a good one. Some of it is the type of player opponent you're going against, right? Like a thinking player's floating range here is going to be huge. They're going to float you with hands like king jack of clubs, king jack of hearts, jack 10 of clubs, jack 10 of hearts. Like thinking players are going to float you here with a really wide range, especially when you just see bet an ace flop. Like, but even recreational players know now that they need to like float one street against you. So you're going to get recreational players that are going to float you with jacks, 10s, 9s. They may even float you with 7s. So
if I include 2-card backdoor flush draw in here,
right?
then that really only increases our equity 3%. It goes from 20% to 23%.
Right. So, but now let's look at hands like ace-7, right? So they call with ace-7. You bet the flop. They call. Turn is a king, right? And then you pop again. How good do they feel about their ace-7?
Right.
And then, like, let's say the river's a 10, right? And a 4-card straight comes out. Like, their equity is still strong overall, but the additional pressure is like it's cutting chunks of that equity out.
Or put another way, it's not taking into account fold equity.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. Awesome, Nick Banks. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm still kind of like getting that whole. I'm still experimenting with it, but yeah, down the road for sure. I'll definitely hit you up. So like, and that's just one example of a flop. But like, I'm always looking at like if I can double or triple barrel profitably, sometimes run into the nuts and sometimes realize my fold equity, then I feel pretty good with my suited connectors. So like in position, like if I've got double gutty and backdoor flush draw, I'm all over it. Out of position, I need need to be like open ended or like maybe a flush draw and a gutty. Like I need more equity to do it out of position. But like this is where you can win a lot of pots because you can rep that really strong hand and I mean look, we're literally talking about like queen jack suited, jack 10 suited, 10-9 suited, 9-8 suited. Like that's what? What is that even? How many combos is that?
Queen jack suited. Say it again. That's queen jack suited, 10-9 suited.
Yeah, queen jack through 9-8. It's 16 combos. So it's not like it's a massive amount of hands, but it's 16 combos that can rep really strong. And so like when you raise here, you get called. Like just get to the flop and count your backdoor outs. You know, if you got 15 to 20 backdoor outs that really improve your hand and allow you to double barrel, then it's a profitable spot for you to kind of c-bet. And then, you know, if you don't hit one of those 15 to 20 outs, you can shut down. Especially in position, you know. That's just kind of the thought process I use with it. I would experiment with that and kind of get a feel for it. But yeah, be careful with the equity because it doesn't factor in the fold equity, especially against weaker opponents, you know. Who every street they're going to have to get more honest with their range. And I promise you, the first time you like c-bet the flop with a backdoor flush draw and a gut shot straight draw, and you hit the gut shot on the turn, you're going to be hooked on this.
Yeah, I'm sure I am. Because that one in how many times it hits.
No, it's not even that. It's because your hand is so disguised at that point, right?
Yeah.
Your hand is so disguised at that point that your opponent never sees it coming, and now you get paid off huge because they're like, he didn't c-bet me with a gut shot. They're not taking into the fact the backdoor flush draw, and they're like, there's no way he c-bet me here with 10-9 on an ace-queen-8 board, you know, and the jack hits, and now you're like shoving for, you know, 1.5x pot on the river, and he's calling you off with ace-4, you know, or whatever. Like, I mean, you'd be surprised the sick pots you win when you get there, and you will.
Hey, Jave, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Okay, so next hand. King 5 is not a hand. 9 deuce is not a hand. Ace 7 in the big blind. Okay, so the small blind opens.
Look at you.
And I'm 3-betting here the ace. Why do I do that? What did I see from him that made me say I can 3-bet here? I think what made me say I could do this is that he's raising a little too frequently from the small blind. I mean, it's a small sample, but I felt like this was an opportunity.
Wait. What was his small blind pre-flop raise?
3 of 8.
No, that's not. That's really, really tight.
38%?
Yeah. So I just went through this on a call earlier today. Let me pull up the percentages. So from the small blind, there's kind of 4 different strategies we should take. The lowest strategy comes in at 45%, and the highest strategy comes at 90%, with the median around 65.
Right, okay.
So yeah, that's actually really, really tight. Yeah, BG says 80%. Like, it depends on your style, your format, but yeah, like, especially nowadays, like the popular trend now, we were talking about this earlier today, was like pushing to like 3.2 to 3.5x because people just fold way too often here from the small blind. And if you can, like, at 3.5x, like, you can almost like raise like 100% of your range, especially against weaker players. I'm not saying you're a weaker player, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, yeah,
I keep trying to convince you I'm a weaker player.
You're not
and
a weaker
you
player.
aren't buying it.
No.
You're just not buying it.
I'm not because, like, you're, like, the difference between your play and my play is so minuscule. Like, there's, like, 2 or 3 tiny things that you're doing differently that I was doing the exact same things a month ago. Like, I've tweaked a few things and seen some huge improvements, and it didn't take me long to tweak them. So it's not going to take you long to tweak them, and yeah, you're fine. So looking at Raise Your Edge here, small blind versus big blind, 40 to 50 bigs. The only 3 bets they have here are 9s plus, ace king and ace queen suited and off, and then they've got some 3-bet folds mixed in of like 6-4 suited, 5-3 suited, 6-3 suited. Like we've talked about those lower board coverage 3-bet bluffing hands to stay polarized. Everything else here is a flat call, with the exception of, like, you know, Jack 4 off.
So I would say to just flat here.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
All good. I mean, you might have a read on this guy too, you know, and you put the extra pressure on him. I mean, especially if it's a passive player. He flats. All right.
So his check to me, I like the king. I like the 3 and the deuce. I mean, I just feel like that is much stronger in my range, so I'm going to c-bet here.
Okay.
And I checked. And by that, I mean I checked.
It happens.
Now I'm going to fold. This is going to be a fold.
So, curious, why, if you like the king deuce 3, why does the 6 make you want to fold here?
Well, what changed is he bet, right? And so what I think was going on is he checked the flop hoping to get me to bet. And now he's betting because he missed the opportunity to get a bet in on the flop. And I have essentially 1 over for equity. I have a gut shot. No, I don't even have that, right? I've got basically nothing. I've got 1 over for in terms of equity. A 7 doesn't make me feel particularly comfortable.
Right.
So I think I'm folding here.
Okay. I'm fine with the fold. One thing I would do too, like on the 3-bet, I would definitely 3-bet larger. Like if you're 3-betting to get him to fold.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I look at that. Whoops, I'm doing the wrong bet thing here. There we go. There it is.
Ooh, I like what's coming up.
Yeah, I do too. Like I don't like this size.
Yeah.
I don't like the size at all. So I would like to make this at least 6K.
The other thing I'll tell you, like, we have to be very, very careful. So we talked about this earlier today too. That there's a huge difference between 3-betting a 30 big blind stack and 3-betting a 40 big blind stack.
Okay.
3-betting a 30 big blind stack kind of puts them in the perfect range to 4-bet jam on you. They've got that like perfect 4-bet jam.
Versus.
Yeah, versus. Yeah, sorry. Versus a 30 big blind stack. Whereas like a 40 big blind stack, like they raised to 2 big blinds, you 3-bet to 6 big blinds. Now they're kind of in that weird spot where it's like if I 4-bet to 15, I've got 25 behind, so I'm almost putting like half my stack in. That doesn't feel good. Jamming 40 big blinds on a 6 big blind 3-bet doesn't feel good. Like they're in that awkward spot that will kind of force them into that 3-bet calling range. It just makes it really uncomfortable for them. So, like, we definitely want to be tighter with our 3-bets against 30 big blind stacks because it's just easier for them to rip on us here. I mean, he did end up flatting, but, like, I could definitely see a wider range of aces that have blockers kind of just ripping on you here. And putting you in a tough spot.
So, Jay, I'm about to say something nice to you.
Uh-oh.
And it's really irking me. But Jay Flop says... in chat says PokerPastor is the Kevin Durant of poker, and I can't disagree with him. I was like going to type something in chat saying we're going to keep that to ourselves, but
no,
I can't. I can't disagree with it, man. I can't.
No. We are all on this journey together. We are taking this next step, getting past just playing our hands at at the value they are and our pot odds, and we're starting to look at sizing. We're starting to look at blockers. We're starting to look at backdoor equity and find ways to value those things. So we're all in this together. These are all things I was not considering a month ago. This is where the Raise Your Edge class has just been golden. So I can't take credit for this. It's not like I was sitting in bed one night going, like this would be a cool concept. Man, I'm learning this from guys that are way better than me. I'm like Kevin Durant's towel guy who's like sitting behind him on the bench, kind of overhearing the conversation.
And then taking it to your home game and crushing people?
Yeah, well, right, yeah.